In Mission 2 of Thief Gold and Thief the Dark Project, Escape from Crag's Cleft Prison, you find a set of notes marked Felix's notes. Cuddy, I got me a big one, I does. The Horn of Quintus Cuddy. I can be paying off some debts with this one, believe you me. I got me a map drawn by some dead old bugger which shows a way in. I knows it's down there in the Bonehoard just like they always said. They say what that the dead walk down there, but it's worth the risk now, ain't it? The way I hears it, the sound of the horn echoing will lead me right to the thing. I'm leaving you a copy of the map in case anything happens to me down there, but more's the chance that I'll see you topside making a toast with the finest wine to be had. See you then. That note sets the stage for Mission 3 down in the Bonehoard, which sees Garrett set off after the Horn of Quintus for himself, as well as any other loot he can haul out of this half-forgotten mausoleum. However, along the way, you're likely to find several corpses and notes related to Felix and his companions and what seems to have been his doomed expedition. In this video, we'll see what we can piece together of what happened to them in their journey down into the Bonehoard. There's evidence of the expedition all over this place, from ropes left behind to planks, even marks what appear to be chalk.
It's a long way down
On the various walls. One of the first bodies we're likely to find is right off the main entrance and to the west. In this side chamber, we can find what appears to be a small campsite. A dead body, unnamed, a bedroll, remains of a campfire, and a book. I've had enough. If Felix wants to stay and be killed, that's his business, but the pay's not good enough to keep me down here a minute more. We already lost Dranko to those damn belching burricks, and Marcus didn't make the jump across that huge chasm. He probably drowned if he wasn't dashed to bits. I thought about looking for his body, as he was carrying some loot from a poorly guarded tomb, but it wasn't worth the risk. Then we watched Cather get filled with arrows from a clever trap in one of those great octagonal vaults. Not that I cared one whit for Cather the bastard, but I have no intention of ending up the same way. I don't expect I'll see Felix again. He seemed sure that the Horn of Quintus was somewhere north of the vaults, but I think that was just a guess. I thought those strange X-shaped marks off that branch of the burrick tunnels were worth investigating, but Felix said they were irrelevant. Anyway, if the traps and zombies don't get him, the burricks will. Those tunnels were a nightmare. At least our marks were mostly still intact. I'm almost out, but I need to sleep. I think the place I found is out of the way enough that the zombies won't find me. Well, unfortunately for this character, the zombies appear to have found him, or he potentially starved up here waiting for them to leave. Further in, though, we can find evidence of some other adventurers. After climbing down another rope ladder and passing this trap, we enter what seem to be referred to as the burrick tunnels, for obvious reason. We do find some arrow markers. These appear to be the markings referenced in the first journal, not the X-shaped ones, but the markings no doubt associated with Felix's expedition. Arrows pointing the way back out. It's these arrows that individual must have followed on his escape. Jumping down past these burricks, we can find another arrow marker indicating the way back, but there is a tunnel leading further in that none of Felix's men seem to have explored thoroughly. Of course, down at the bottom there's a pit filled with water. But also another part of the chamber with a body. On normal difficulties, at least, there will be no parchment left here. You'll just find the unnamed corpse, some loot, some food, and a bedroll, along with these fire arrows and, of course, traps. But since we're on expert, we can take a look at what this parchment has to say and who this individual might be. I've decided to take the plunge. If my records are correct, there should be a stash of fire crystals in the lowest oubliette, which was sealed for centuries but has since been opened up by the burricks. I'll need the crystals for the torches if I'm going to get the mystic soul. The Mystic's Soul and the Mystic's Heart are two objectives that are added on the higher difficulties. If you're playing on normal, those parts of the Bonehoard will be actually inaccessible and sealed off. You can still find the bodies and the associated tools left behind, but there won't be any references to those gems. Potentially aside from what we can find in some of the other journals who reference these characters going after that different bit of loot. So is this maybe Dranko, who is taken out by the burricks? Marcus, who maybe didn't make the jump or drowned after trying to cross the huge chasm? It seems unlikely. The journal entry here doesn't mention Felix, doesn't mention the Horn of Quintus. It seems like these individuals may have come on their own. Back out through this chamber, we can find another exit that'll take us to a different area of the burrick tunnels. We come out at a high point overlooking this cave. Lots of burricks patrol down below, and there are several other tunnels. But right to our right, looking to the northeast, we can see a tunnel with an X-shaped mark above it. This must be that X-shaped mark referenced in the first journal that we found. And if we head down here, we can find evidence of another adventurer, possibly separate from Felix's group. We'll go east at this first intersection. Continue straight, and then head down to the right. A burrick here guards this rope access up to another chamber. This appears to be a dead end, for us as well as for the unfortunate individual who we find. Again, on normal difficulty, this unnamed character will simply have a bucket, some water arrows, and a bedroll. He's not going to have this parchment, but we can pick it up on expert. It appears I was wrong about the Mystic's Heart, and I will die for my mistake. The ancient tablet I found said that the heart would be in a room full of statues whose gaze is death. But though there are statues here, it's clear to me now that this is not that place. I dare not go back down. The burricks prowl below in numbers, angered at my intrusion. Unless they leave, I will starve in this godforsaken place. We can certainly see statues here. They have a rather fixed gaze. But this is a reference to a puzzle that will appear on the higher difficulties, going after those specific gems. Again, just like in the previous character we found, there's no reference here to Felix, no reference to any other individuals, any other characters, or the Horn of Quintus. It seems again that this is from a different expedition. Back in the central burrick cave, our way onward is off to the northwest. There are the odd skeleton, skull, or bone lying around, but nothing that seems to constitute a part of Felix's group. We make this jump, following again those markers that Felix left behind. We soon come out on another placed rope, which overlooks a chasm. Creeping close to the edge, we can see that there is some water down below, and a cave system just off to the northeast. Let's see if we can find Marcus. And down at the bottom here we can find another body. Unnamed like all the other corpses we can find, this character only seems to have a bedroll, a pick, and a book. The book is not present on the lower difficulties, but here we can read it. Felix doesn't care, but we've definitely found signs that Adolpho has been here before us. I don't know if he found that fabulous gemstone he always said was here, but if it's still here, it's worth more than the lousy Horn of Quintuplets or whatever the thing is called. If I'm reading the signs right, Adolpho is convinced something useful was deep down below the burrick tunnels. It seems certain that this then is the body of Marcus. The only inconsistency is the first journal we found in the Bonehoard referenced that he was accompanied by some loot from one of the tombs that they found. And though I've searched pretty thoroughly through here in this water cave system and all around, I haven't found any valuables on this character or nearby. And indeed, you can clear out the entire Bonehoard, at least on Expert, and get nothing from here and still meet the 100% of all of the loot that is accounted for. Possibly on a lower difficulty, he appears with some valuables, but that's not what I've found. In any case, we have one named character accounted for so far, and the name of a completely different individual, Adolpho, looking for some fabulous gemstone and something useful deep down below the burrick tunnels. We've found those two unnamed characters, both of whom seem unconnected with Felix's party, both of whom reference the Mystic's Heart or the Mystic's Soul. It's possible that either one of them is Adolpho or maybe connected with his party in some way. Emerging finally from the burrick tunnels, either by following the ledge above the chasm or by diving in and finding another way, we can make our way to the northeast, dodging zombies, and find the last body and the last named identifiable member of Felix's doomed expedition.
Felix, you don't look so good.
He has a journal, a small campsite with a couple of bottles, a bedroll, and a loaf of bread. I'm so close. Here's the sound of the horn echoing all around. That coward Sutter, he left me an hour ago after Cather blundered into a trap, but you can bet I'll be finding the prize on my own. It seems that I'm not the first grave robber to muck about in these halls. The infamous Adolpho is down here, probably after one of the richer but heavily warded treasures. Looks like he failed, the poor bugger. This part of the tombs is filled with traps, and there's no way I'm plundering some of these crypts, but the horn's gotta be mine, I know it. If the rumors are true, the sound of the horn should be keeping any local burricks happy and peaceful-like, with no thoughts of bothering old Felix. My only trouble now would be my dwindling supply of holy water. I thought there would be a font in this area, but I'm blasted if I can find it. The dead seem to be getting restless about something. This scrap gives us a little more information. We can certainly identify that first individual we found near the entrance to the Bonehoard as Sutter. There is another named character called Sutter in Thief Gold. In the gold-specific mission Thieves Guild, right at the very beginning, one of the thieves asking for the password is identified as Sutter. However, it seems most likely that that's a coincidence, just an accidental reusing of a name. With that, we have the 5-member expedition somewhat accounted for. Sutter escaped almost, but was presumably killed by zombies just before the entrance to the Bonehoard. Marcus fell into the chasm and either drowned or was killed by the fall. Cather and Dranko are two that we don't have definitive locations for. Dranko may have been killed by the burricks and his body left somewhere unidentifiable. Cather was killed by Arrow's trap in a octagonal vault. However, I've not been able to identify the trap or the location of this. And Felix, of course, made it pretty close to the horn, dying in a location from where he could still hear it blowing. It's a sad end, of course. Felix is one of the more friendly-seeming characters that you can read about or identify in the city. He seems to have had some kind of professional relationship with Cuddy, Garrett's early fence, and he had the wherewithal to assemble and finance and back a group of plunderers to make the trip into the Bonehoard. It seems, unfortunately, none of them made it out. As for Adolpho, it's likely that he lies within the Bonehoard as well, although we're not certain exactly where he met his fate. We're also not certain as to what signs Felix saw that led him to believe that Adolpho failed. It seems none of Felix's expedition made it into either of the areas where those two other unnamed characters were found dead. Ultimately, of course, it's up to Garrett to succeed where Felix and his team failed. But at least along the way, we can piece together something of what happened to them down in the Bonehoard.